Hey witches, it's Taya, coming to you today with a little look at my Book of Shadows. I thought it'd be interesting just to show people how I do it. I do it more scrapbooky. I think it's a little different than what you traditionally see, just to show some options on how you can put your own book together. And I just know it's always interesting to see exactly that. How do other people do things? What kind of stuff do they include? How is it laid out? All that. So to get started, it's just a big old sketchbook. And I have drawn a pentagram on the front. And if you flip her open, first page is blank, and then it just says Book of Shadows. And I'm not going to show you all the stuff at the beginning. This is where I've got like a book protection spells, a little bit of personal information, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to skip right to the good stuff in here, where I start out with a little bit of information about Gaia and Uranus, who are two Greek gods that I used to work with. I still work with Gaia, but not so much Uranus anymore. But yeah, just you can see basically what I do is I take pictures off the internet. I just Google search images and I'm like, great, that looks good. That's what I want to put in. I print it out, I cut it out, and I paste it into my book. And then I write and I do some, fancy headers and little drawings and stuff like that. Again, a bit of personal information there, but a little bit about Weave the Liminal. So I do book reviews in here. A little bit about this is not Luna. This is my dog before Nixie. And she unfortunately had passed away right before I started this book. So a little bit about her and my apothecary cabinet, because it was with her that I originally started it. A little bit about Lilith, and some pictures of my altars, which you'll see throughout. I kind of tend to post pictures of my altars. Sorry, I keep bumping the camera. I'll try not to do that. And I use stamps, and mostly just these are pictures I took and I just print them out on plain paper. The 3 Keys to the Witch's Path and Charge of the New Aradia. These are from Weave the Liminal. I really need to cite my sources in my book. I just know, but I should probably do that. As above, so below, as within, so without, as the universe, so the soul. I just think that's beautiful. A commitment for 2020. What am I committed to doing within the year? This book was started in the fall of 2019, just to give you guys an idea. A little bit about the elements. This I'm redoing. I don't really like this page. It's a little not my style, but yeah, now I've been doing a lot more work with the elements. I'm like, I really need to bulk this out a bit. So this will probably be changing. Moon magic. Again, the different phases, when they rise and set, and what the different phases are good for. A self-dedication ritual that I did back in December of 2019. So this was at the beginning of 2020. I was just sort of recapping all that information, or I guess it was then. Crescent cakes, offerings to Gaia and Uranus. And then we get into my first Sabbat. So it was Imbolc was my first Sabbat. And this big page, and I will have a big page like this for each Sabbat, is from waywardinspiration.com. I absolutely adore Wayward Inspiration. She's got some really good information. So I would take a printout of the Sabbat and then write in traditional activities. At the top, I do a photo of my altar. And then down at the bottom is usually just additional information. So for each Sabbat, it's kind of something different down at the bottom. Breed cakes and a little bit more about Imbolc. Witch's Manifesto, which is again from Weave the Liminal. And this is some of Laura Tempest Zakroff's artwork. I hope she'll forgive me. I put this in my Book of Shadows. I didn't actually purchase the artwork from her. Naming dedication ritual, a little review of the book Witch by Lisa Lister, and a picture of my family. And again, it was about my dog. Chakras and energy work. So a little information about cycling energy, connecting with personal energy, and then all the different chakras. A home protection crystal grid. And the Sorceress. So this is from Witch by Lisa Lister, who has sort of a 5-fold method of the goddess on the Sorceress, the Creatrix, the Oracle, the Healer, and the Force of Nature. The 5 witch entities or archetypes that are present in each and every one of us. And then this is Witch work. Again, this is copied straight out of Lisa Lister's work, Witch. And I do that, right? If I see something that really resonates with me in a book, I'm going to copy it into my Book of Shadows, because then I always have it there for reference. I don't have to keep going back to different books. Raising energy. So again, just how to sit and ground and raise energy. Now I'm back to my Imbolc altar here. This is it all lit up. This was my first Sabbat, so I kind of played around with it, and I had a picture of my altar, and then I had a picture of my altar all lit up, and then a full moon altar that I created for the ice moon in February. Information about Chaos, the ultimate goddess, she who came first. The Fivefold Goddess, the Threads of the Goddess. This is from Nigel Pearson's work, Treading the Mill by Nigel Pearson. And I absolutely love this poem. It's beautiful. I could do just a video about that. In fact, I probably will do a video about the Fivefold Goddess, because I don't tend to follow the whole model of a triple goddess. I'm more of a fivefold sort of goddess girl. So a little bit of information about that. And then again, oh geez, sorry, I just keep bumping that camera. The Guises of the God, again from Nigel Pearson, Treading the Mill. Some recipes for red brick dust, cascarilla powder, black salt, and cascarilla chalk that I've done in the past. Information about the god in general. So we have Master of Light, Lord of the Mound, and King of the Wildwood, his sort of three different guises as the god. And then the King of the Wildwood is the Summer King and the Winter King, also known as the Oak King and the Holly King. And I just look pictures up. I just search pictures on Google Images and print them out and stick them in my book. And they don't have to be, a lot of people are like, oh, you need to go somewhere where you can get free shipping. Listen, if you're putting it in your personal Book of Shadows, you can put anything you want in there. If you want to sell it and make money, yeah, then you should be, using free rights images. But if it's just going in your personal Book of Shadows, and I mean, I'm sharing this, there's no profit off of this. It's just, hey, here's some information about the goddess. Again, here's Nigel Pearson's book, Treading the Mill, and The Crooked Path by Keldon. So I actually I have pictures of the book, and then I do a write-up about, sort of what I learned, what it meant to me at the time. This is an actual picture of my altar at the time and the setup and the compass round. So this is actually based on something I actually did. We get into Ostara, and again, there's my altar, some traditional activities, and some eggs that I did up with my son. More information about Ostara and lavender and honey lemon cakes. A lot of this additional information is taken from Wayward Inspiration. I also subscribe to her email, and she tends to send out really good information about the Sabbats. A protection and health candle that I created at the beginning of COVID. So this would have been sort of in March. Yeah, my husband works outside the home, my daughter works outside the home, and we have my nephew here every day. So his dad comes to our house once a day, and comes into our house, and he works outside the home, and all of them work, gratefully so that they were all able to stay employed throughout COVID. But it was very nerve-wracking knowing that they were going out. There was this virus in the world, and it could be potentially coming into my home. So I did this protection and health candle, and which I'll say it worked. Nobody has gotten COVID yet, so that was kind of exciting. Beltane. And now this time I didn't have a picture of my altar. I just drew a picture of my fire pit in the backyard. Traditional activities, and then I wrote up a little bit about what we did. A bonfire with my son. This is a poem. It is not necessarily a witchy poem, but it is from Shel Silverstein. I'm going to read it to you guys because I've read it to my children, and I just think everybody needs to hear it. Listen to the mustn'ts, child, listen to the don'ts. Listen to the shouldn'ts, the impossibles, the won'ts. Listen to the never-haves, then listen close to me. Anything can happen, child. Anything can be. And that's beautiful. That had to go in my book. A little bit more that I was reading at the time. Walking the Tides by Nigel Pearson. Besamstang Sword by Christopher Orapello and Tara Liv Maguire. And then Jailbreaking the Goddess, which is another fivefold goddess book. Jailbreaking the Goddess, a radical revisioning of feminist spirituality by Lasara Firefox Allen. So very interesting. Paired well with Lisa Lister's 5 Archetypes of the Witch. Information about Isobel Gowdie. I kind of did a write-up about her and then about her 4 different confessions. Again, artwork stolen off the internet. I wish I could remember the name of the person whose artwork this was because it's absolutely gorgeous. If I can, I'll link it down in the comments below. But yeah, she actually sells these prints. I stole them off the internet. Totally gonna be honest. But again, it's just for my personal book. My duckling protection spell, which I've talked about before. So I wrote that up and put it in here. My recipe for Florida water. This is the original recipe. This is I do it all with essential oils. This is my, what's it called? My rework using just essential oils and how I put that together. Elemental fluid condensers, how I made them. And I totally screwed up on this page. I had these big empty spaces and I'm like, I don't know. So I just ended up stamping in them. Those empty spaces, I had actually kept those spaces open so that I could write how you use and dispose of each of those spell types. So I need to come back again and fix this up. We get into Letha. And again, we were out in the backyard. So I just printed took some pictures and printed them out. Traditional activities and just a little write-up about what we did. Some pictures of things I was forging and the fairy ring in my backyard. And this little picture says, "News from Scotland." And it's sort of just a little write-up about my Scottish ancestry. We get into Lammas or Lunasa. And again, my altar, some traditional activities, and we had a picnic. So I just took a picture of our picnic and wrote up what we ate. So it was all sort of geared towards Lammas. I haven't filled out the actual information, but these are other books I was reading. We've got 6 Ways, Approaches and Entries for Practical Magic. The Devil's Dozen, 13 Craft Rites of the Old One by Gemma Gary. Folk Witchcraft, I'm going to do a review on this one. Folk Witchcraft, A Guide to Lore, Land, and the Familiar Spirit for the Solitary Practitioner by Roger J. Horn. That was a very good book. Scottish Witches and Warlocks by Michael Howard. Scottish Herbs and Fairy Lore by Ellen Everett Hopman. And The Visions of Isobel Gowdie, Magic, Witchcraft, and Dark Shamanism in 17th Century Scotland by Emma Wilby. Emma Wilby has some really good works. They're a little academic, but fascinating stuff. And she talks a lot about the 16th century, or is it the 17th? The 1600s, so the 17th century in Scotland, and what it was like living then, and what it would have been like for Isobel Gowdie. So very, very interesting stuff. Get a job spell I did for my daughter, which was interesting because for the job I was doing it for, it didn't work. But shortly after, she got a phone call on another job, and so to me, that's a score, that's a win. I have a big belief that magic that job wasn't meant for her. Do you know what I mean? And so all of my magical working is always sort of as long as, with the idea that as long as it's in line with the path that the goddess has laid out. And at the time, it seemed like the perfect job for her. She ended up actually getting an even better job shortly thereafter. So I do count it as a win. She didn't get the job I thought she was going to get. She got one that was even better. A poem called I'm a Witch by Garina Dunwich. You see, I've started writing in where I'm getting stuff from. I have to go back and do that for some of the other ones. Information, I had a whole chakra course I took and a lot of chakra information that I reference and use. We'll get into Mabon. And I didn't have a picture of my altar, but I didn't do up an altar for Mabon, but I did do a big family dinner. So this is a picture of what I made for a family dinner, a write-up about traditional activities, and just about apple picking, because I have an apple tree in my yard, and I picked a basket full of apples for Mabon. A little bit of information about the kayak, and that's just something, this is new. We're getting into the newer sort of section here, and so kind of just very brief information about her. The Sanctum Regnum, to attain the Sanctum Regnum, I can never say his name, Eliphaz Levi, Transcendental Magic, the to know, to dare, to will, to keep silence. That's where it originally came from. Planetary information, so a little bit about the planetary days and the planetary hours, and then I have these extra little sheets in here, so if I want to figure something out, I can actually just pull one and write on it, because I don't want to write in my actual book. That's just for reference. Kind of fun. Samhain, my Samhain altar, traditional activities, and I put in a picture of my new working altar and my ancestor altar. Just about at the end here. This is my best life intention. I don't know what you want to call it, if it's a spell or it's a collection of sigils in a box that I charge every month, and it's basically looking to create almost like a servitor who's going to help me create my best life. And I add to that every new moon. And then just some journaling about what I'm actually doing, because I just sort of had gotten behind and I thought I just need to catch up. So I'm talking about my new moon and my full moon workbooks, my YouTube channel. Look, there you guys are, YouTube channel. Oops, as I bump my camera. And then Yule, I put a picture of my tree because I didn't really do a separate altar. This was we did a very small, usually I do have a whole altar, but it was a very small year this year. Some traditional activities, and then I actually write out the Yule season because it's a whole, to me, Yule is a whole season. It's not just a single day. And then we get to my last entry here, and it's kind of new year, new start. Again, I've got a picture of my new altar, and just to kind of write up at the beginning of the year where I'm at and what I'm doing going forward. And then I have this the rest of this lovely blank book. So I do actually go in. I haven't done it recently, but you can notice down in the corner of each page I do write. There's a little tiny page number down in the corner. Because, so rather than doing a table of contents, there is no table of contents. What I do is I have, I've just got on a piece of paper right now. It's an index. So anytime I talk about deity, so I've got Gaia, Uranus, Lilith, offerings, the witch father, the witch mother, the kayak. Anytime I mention my altar, anytime I have a ritual or a rite about self-dedication or a naming dedication, recipes for different things, different crafts, different sabbats, different knowledge about the elements, moon phases, moon magic, chakras, cycling energy, home protection crystal grid, the 5 archetypes. Anytime there's knowledge or anytime there's inspiration. So 3 keys, New Aradia, as above, so below, a witch's manifesto. It says I didn't decide to become a witch. I just remembered I was one. This is witch work. So you see that's like all inspirational kind of stuff. And then spells and specific workings, and ancestors now. Anything about ancestors I have a little spot for. Sorry, oh my gosh, guys, I apologize. I keep bumping that camera. So what I'm going to do in the end is I am going to transfer this into the back of my book, and I'll start my index here and work forward until it meets up with the work from my book, and then I've got a completed book. And in the back, I'll just have like an index. So if I want to look something, I can just look up the topic and find that page, rather than doing a table of contents at the beginning where it gets all confusing, right? It's like, oh, where do I leave a page? And do I, like, you got to do all the sabbats together. I just journal as I go. I pull pictures from the internet. Again, I probably shouldn't be showing this on YouTube, but I figure we'll see if we can get away with it. And I just pull pictures off the internet and pop them into my book. And as long as you're not selling it or making money off of it, you're fine to go ahead and reference. So but I will reference where you can find some of that artwork from the original sellers if you wanna find it. And yeah, that is my Book of Shadows in a nutshell. I hope that kind of helps some of you see how it was created. You know, give you some ideas for your own book. I just scrapbook as I go, and yeah, I don't know. I think it's working well. So yeah, we're just over 18 minutes, so I'm going to let you all go. If you like this kind of content, make sure you subscribe so we can hang out again in another video. And if this was helpful for you, give me a like. Any questions, pop them in the comments. And yeah, I'm here to help. All right. Thanks, guys. See you.